Have you ever just stopped and wondered what was happening on this exact day just, 100 years ago? Not the big famous dates we all know, but just a regular, ordinary day. Well, that's what we're going to do today. We are pulling back the curtain on one specific day to uncover a secret history that is kind of mind-blowing.
I know. It sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? A general, a pharaoh, and a telephone. What in the world could possibly connect these three things across time and space? Well, the answer is actually a lot simpler and way more fascinating than you might think.
That's it. That's the link. This one, single, unassuming day on the calendar is jam-packed with these pivotal moments that have shaped our world in ways we don't even think about. So let's spend the next few minutes digging into the dense, overlapping, incredible history of February 16th.
So our first stop is going to look at two very different kinds of battles. They were fought decades apart, but they are forever linked by this one date. One was a military showdown that literally changed the course of a war, and the other, well, it was a battle of words that won a huge victory for civil rights.
Okay, so picture this. It's the winter of 1862. The American Civil War is just raging. The Union desperately needs a big win, and they set their sights on Fort Donelson in Tennessee. See, if you control this fort, you control the Cumberland River, and that's like a highway straight into the heart of the Confederacy. The stakes, they could not have been higher.
So after days of just brutal fighting, the Confederate general, Simon Buckner, he asks for terms of surrender. The reply he got back from Ulysses S. Grant wasn't a negotiation. Oh no, it was an ultimatum. It was a signal that the Union was done playing games. They were going for total victory. And that very quote is what earned Grant his legendary nickname, Unconditional Surrender Grant.
And the result of that ultimatum? On February 16th, more than 12,000 Confederate soldiers laid down their weapons. This wasn't just a win, it was a strategic disaster for the South. It was also the first really big morale-boosting Union victory of the entire war, and it set a much tougher tone for all the fighting that was still to come. All right, let's jump forward in time. We're leaving behind a battlefield of cannons and rifles and heading into a legislative chamber. Because on the very same day, 83 years later, a different kind of surrender was being demanded, the surrender of prejudice itself.
In the 1940s, in Alaska, discrimination against Alaska Natives was just open and awful. You'd see signs that said, "No natives allowed." It was everywhere. But a Tlingit woman named Elizabeth Peratrovich, a leader in the Alaska Native Sisterhood, she decided that enough was enough. She started championing a bill to outlaw all of it.
But the opposition was fierce and, frankly, deeply racist. During the debate, a senator named Alan Shattuck stood up and actually said this, dismissing Alaska Natives as savages. I mean, can you imagine? He was basically asking the government to officially declare one race superior to another.
And this is where the power of a single voice just changed everything. Elizabeth Peratrovich stood up to speak. She calmly took the senator's own hateful words and just brilliantly turned them into this powerful defense of equality and the American Constitution. Her testimony was so moving, so undeniable, that the whole gallery just erupted in applause. The bill passed that very day, February 16th. Okay, let's shift gears again. Now we're going to jump to two events that feel a lot closer to home. We're talking about a discovery that absolutely captivated the entire planet and an invention that millions of us, let's be honest, now completely take for granted. So, the archaeologist Howard Carter had actually found the entrance to King Tut's tomb a few months earlier, but February 16th? That was the main event. This was the day he was finally going to break through the sealed doorway into the actual burial chamber. The whole world was watching. Nobody knew what was inside, but finding a pharaoh's tomb untouched for over 3,000 years, that was a once-in-a-millennium discovery. And this wasn't just a couple of guys with shovels. I mean, look at this list of who was there. You've got high-ranking Egyptian officials, directors of antiquities, the guy paying for the whole thing, and the best photographers in the world. This was a carefully staged global media event. It basically wrote the playbook for how we reveal huge discoveries to the public even today. All right, fast forward again, this time to 1968. It's kind of hard to believe now, but for most of its history, the United States had no single unified emergency number. If you had a fire, you'd call one number. If there was a crime, you'd call another. It was a mess. So after years of debate, the stage was finally set to create 911.
But here's a little-known story about that first 911 call. The giant company AT&T, they had this big plan to launch the system in Indiana. But the president of a tiny little independent company down in Alabama saw the announcement and basically said, heck no, we can do it faster. He picked the small town of Haleyville to go and make history.
And on February 16, 1968, they did it. This is the moment. You've got the Alabama House Speaker, rank and fight, picking up the phone in the mayor's office. He places the first ever 911 call. And over at the police station, Congressman Tom Bevel answers it on this now iconic bright red telephone.
And you gotta love the local pride. The town was so proud, they immediately put up these signs at the city limits, announcing it to the world. It's just this brilliant little story of local ingenuity in a small Alabama town that gave birth to a system that now, literally, saves countless lives every single day.
So, wow, okay. We've seen a Civil War surrender, a fight for equality, a pharaoh's tomb, and the birth of 911. Let's try and pull all these threads together now and really see what the legacy of this one single day tells us about, well, everything.
But wait, there's actually one more piece to this puzzle. Also on February 16th, this time in 1959, a 32-year-old Fidel Castro was sworn in as Prime Minister of Cuba. And this event, happening just weeks after his revolution took over, marked this profound political shift that would completely reshape the Western Hemisphere for decades.
So when you lay it all out like this, you start to see it. February 16th isn't just some random collection of events. It's a day of decisive resolution. A day of breathtaking discovery, a day of hard-won equality, radical transformation, and life-saving innovation. All on the same day.
And I think this shows us something really important. History isn't some neat timeline of disconnected moments that we learn in a textbook. It's a rich, complex, messy fabric. You've got victories and discoveries and revolutions all layered on top of each other, woven together by nothing more than the turn of a calendar page.
Which really, it just leaves us with one final thought. We've just unpacked the incredible density of one single day in the past. But history is always being made. It's happening right now, all around us. So the real question is, what moments are unfolding today that future generations are going to look back on and try to understand? What's today's story?